All right, so now let's get into some of the stories. Actually, both stories are a little bit Rob centric. I'm gonna
Okay.
I'm gonna let you take the lead.
You're gonna let me take the lead on this? Okay, so we have this is the meat of our movie sandwich, and we got it's mainly sports that we're gonna be talking about here. Two big stories that have come out in the past couple of weeks. We'll start off with our friend, man we love, Colin Kaepernick, right? Yeah. So as you all know, he obviously is a former San Francisco 49ers quarterback. The league he's one of those quarterbacks, the league caught up to him. He didn't make the adjustments and kind of started to fade. He wasn't willing to put in the work to make adjustments in his game. And when that happened, he obviously went to the political stance that he went on. And because he was kind of costing, teams money, he wasn't kind of cancer in the locker room. And it's like he just, they kind of team cut him, and he hasn't played in 3 years now. But he's been saying that, oh, I've been working out for 3 years. I've been doing all this stuff, and like I'm ready to play. Like, but it's because the league and all the teams are racist. They don't want me to play, and that's all we've been hearing for years now about this guy. And no NFL team, on their own is going to say, "Hey, why don't you come to our facility for a practice, and let's see if yours improved as you say you are." Because I mean, because the thing is, like, he probably could be a backup quarterback right now, but it's like there's a couple teams that they lost their star quarterback. They probably could use him, but the thing is, with let's say like the Vikings or somebody like brought him in, and it's like, oh, you know what, you don't really fit our system. And well, they're not going to do that because he's just going to call them. It's like, oh, well, it's because they're racist. They don't want me. They don't like what I have to say. They don't like my play. They don't like me because I all blah 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 blah. That's kind of his thing. So initially I thought it was like, wow, the NFL is like, they really caving for this guy. It's like, actually, I think what they did was very smart. Is they knew that they couldn't have NFL teams just doing their own solo thing. So the NFL set up where they had I think it was the Atlanta Falcons practice facility. They set up everything. It had all the teams come and have their scouts, all that stuff, and like it was set up by the NFL, so you couldn't say that, oh, it's because all the team, like one or two teams, like they just don't like Colin Kaepernick and all his his race, all that stuff. So the NFL set up a thing for him, and they had all the scouts, all the pro equipment, they had receivers ready to go, all this stuff, and people spent a lot of time and money, getting this together. And he was like, all right. And not, hours before this thing is supposed to go on, his tryout is supposed to go on, he ends up saying like, no, I'm not going to do it because you guys won't let like my own camera crew on here and all this stuff. And I want, I don't want these receivers. I want these receivers. And because you don't want me to do that, I'm not going to do it. It's like, well, they didn't say that they weren't going to do it. It's like you're telling them, literally hours before the start of, not like 24 hours, like 2 hours. Like that's how so they couldn't like shift things all of a sudden. And so he went to some like, he ended up wanting to film it. It's like some high school, and wanted to put it on YouTube Live. And I was like, what the hell are you doing? And here's the thing is, and this is what I've been talking about, along with some other, um, uh, pundits in the sports world, and it's like this guy doesn't want to play. He wants to be a spectacle and a martyr. And I mean, I shared with you the video of Stephen A. Smith, who is no fan of conservatism or anything like that, but he sees right through what Colin Kaepernick is doing. It's the thing is, like, he made a lot of money by being a spectacle. I mean, Nike threw, hundreds of millions of dollars at this guy, and he's not even playing. He's not even playing. That's the one thing. And so he's made more money being a spectacle and a martyr than he has as a football player. So football to him does not matter at all. And this is just another stunt for him to maybe get some other lucrative deal from some other woke company that's going to throw another, couple $100 million at him. And
I feel good now.
Honestly, I think the NFL should just, like, you know what, fuck you, and we're done.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, they should, but the NFL should just do a Pontius Pilate and it's like, wash my hands of this.
Yeah, I would.
I mean, because Colin Kaepernick, he doesn't want to be known for, as a great football player or quarterback. He just wants to be known. And it's and it's so transparent now that's what that's what it's all about. I mean, because it's not as like the deal that they're supposedly working on about like the whole like filming was that because for some reason Kaepernick wanted to have his own film crew for like a documentary or like what you were saying, like you can put it up on YouTube or whatever, and the NFL was like saying, hey, that's just it seems like that it would be crowded, we'll film it and then we'll give you what we put together, and then also we'll give you all the raw footage so you can do with whatever you want.
Right.
But even to that, he was just like, "No, forget it." It's like that for some reason that was the linchpin of the entire deal.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like, I think our camera crews are like, because it wasn't just some like ramshackle like camera crew. These were guys that go and film prospects all over the country for football, and they have it it wasn't like some amateur like, oh, we're gonna cut out like parts where he's doing good. It's like, no, it's like, we'll give you the raw film. I mean, they bent over backwards for this guy, and that's why to me it just proves that like he doesn't want to be in the league. He wants to be a spectacle. Like this doesn't
right. And I mean, like, and the speech he gives at the end of that work, that what was it, 40-minute workout at some high school, like an hour away from the original venue. Yeah, that speech he gives where he's talking about like, hey man, I'm here, I'm ready to get back into it. I'm just waiting on the teams. It's just like, I'm ready to go anytime, any place. I'm just ready. I'm just waiting on them. It's like motherfucker, anytime, any place. That the training facility, the Falcons training facility, that was the time, that was the place.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you talking about? And he made like this like allusions to like, oh, they just don't want me to see, they just don't want to see me do well, or it's like it's all like this kind of like persecution complex. That somehow like he is somehow uniquely targeted or subject to to some sort of harassment. Yeah, it's just like, no, motherfucker, you're making yourself to be an ass. That's it.
Yeah. And he wore a shirt, said like Kunta Kinte, like making it say, oh, look at me, I'm just I'm a slave. It's his root shirt or whatever. Yeah. And it's like, are you?
Yeah, and whatever. We all know his name is Toby, asshole. All right, his name is Toby.
just it was the worst. It's just
Yeah,
he's a joke, and I think honestly I think the NFL is. I'm hoping that the NFL is just like, all right, well, fuck you, we're done. Um, enjoy your being who you are, and I hopefully other people see through it as well, and they realize that it's like no, it's not the NFL. The NFL bent over backwards for this guy,
right.
trying to get him like try. They wouldn't do this for just anybody. Like I mean, they allowed it. It's like all right, fine. If you're gonna call us all this stuff, we'll bend over backwards, give you exact everything that you want, and he still refused it. So it's like, well, you know what? Screw you.
Right. I mean, when you initially told me about this, about how it wasn't Colin Kaepernick by himself setting up this training thing for the teams to come and check him out. But it was actually like the NFL. I likened it to the bratty obnoxious rich kid and going to his party, but only because his parents paid you to be there. That's what I likened it
Right.
to. Um, but it but it ended up like being something completely different, and it's just like like having the party at the at their super big super fancy mansion wasn't enough, so he went and like decided to move the party like last minute. It's like fuck you, mom and dad. It's like what?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
Fuck Colin.
just.
All I have to say is fuck Colin Kaepernick. He's not. It's just he's done.
I mean, for me, like I don't, it's just like I'm not waiting for him to be irrelevant because to me he's already irrelevant. I'm not following. I'm not following news about him. I'm not. I'm not. Look, and I'm not. Following him on Twitter or anything like that. I'm just. He's irrelevant to me, and I think that I think that's what everyone. That's the kind of attitude everyone should have. It's just like this guy's irrelevant. I don't need to know about him. If he happens to appear on ESPN or whatever, like okay, but it's just like this guy's irrelevant to me. He's not being relevant in the way that I want him to be, or he needs to be for me to care. So it's like he's completely irrelevant to me.
Right. Yeah. No, that makes that makes sense. I think it's because a lot of there are people, especially on the left, that tote this guy as like, oh, he's, people don't want him to play because they don't like his stance on police officers and all this stuff. It's like, but it was never about any of that stuff. It's all a stunt. He's lying to you. He doesn't give a shit about those things, but he's
Right?
using
I
that as a
know.
way to make money. He's not a good enough football player, so why don't I do this thing where I know I can, get more attention on me? And hell, it worked. Nike threw $100 million plus at him.
Yeah. It's yeah. Again, he doesn't care about being known for being a good football player. He just wants to be known. It's like it doesn't matter like how he's known, even if he's known as an ass. I think he's good with that.
Yeah, like I said, he doesn't like I said, and so that's why it was. I felt it was kind of an important story because it's like he's lying to everybody to say that he cares about all this stuff or that all this stuff. It's all a lie.
Right. I would, if he really believed that, and I would respect him for, I really would respect him for it if he did this, is if anytime he saw a police officer, he'd spit in their face.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would, I mean, I don't advocate for that to happen, but for him, like, specifically, if he's, like, so against, like, police brutality or whatever, like, I want to see videos of him every time just merely passes a police officer. He turns around and spits in their face. I'd 100% respect him for that if he did that, because then he'd at least be living by, he'd be living somewhat by his principles.
Yeah, that would be his. Like I can respect that. I don't like it, but I can respect it at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he's living out his conviction. but he's not. And it's like I mean, who the fuck is like watching him day and night? Who like who's the one that's guarding him on like that was guarding him on game days and shit like that? It was the cops. And then yes, I mean yes, granted there are bad apples in the bunch, but to paint. I'm mixing metaphors here, but to paint with a very broad brush and to say that all cops are then responsible, that's too much.